third class. We already completed our first chapter and started the second chapter, Indian economy during 1950 to 1990. And this time our government introduced the Planning Commission. So what is the Planning Commission, or what is the economic planning? Economics planning means to grow our country, to increase our GDP, to remove the unemployment, remove the poverty. So these are our economic planning, and this planning we take, or our aim, for 5 years. First 5 years we take some decisions which are implemented for the next 5 years. So these 5 years are called the short term plan, and when we merge these 5 years plan, this lead to long term plans. Okay, so we already started our 5-year plans and our objectives. These objectives not only one particular 5-year plans, these objectives are long term planning. Okay, so already I discussed this long term objectives. So objectives of 5-year plan, and this is for long term. Okay, so first is what? First is growth. Today again I discuss growth. So what is growth? Growth means increase GDP. To increase the GDP. Or this growth also refers the production capacity of our country, of any particular country. So by this production capacity, when our production capacity increased, we produce more goods and services, which leads rise in GDP, and this rise in GDP means which leads rise of the living standard of people. Okay, students. So by this increasing GDP, government wants the increase the welfare of people. Okay, let me discuss one example. We think that GDP is one cake and growth is the size of the cake. If the size of cake is large, then the maximum of people can enjoy the taste of cake. That means when the GDP is increased, output also increase, income also increase, and this income also distributed among the all people. So by increasing GDP, we can improve the standard of living of people of a country. Okay, and with this GDP, and what is the GDP? All of you know that what is GDP. GDP means gross domestic product. That means the value of all goods and services during a year within a country. This is called the gross domestic product. And with the increase in GDP, by this also we need the improving production capacity. So when increase in our GDP, the production capacity also increased. We use the improved technology, and also this increasing GDP also leads innovative technology, banking, insurance, communication. This also will be improved by increasing the GDP. So this is the main thing about the growth. When GDP is increased, which lead to more growth, and by more growth we developed our country. Now the next one is the modernization. Modernization, which means introducing new technology and change the social outlook. This is all about the modernization. So, and this modernization also necessary for the improving the standard of living of people. So, in times of the Green Revolution, late 1960s, our India introduced the new technology in our cultivation process. That means they use the HIV seeds, they use the chemical fertilizers, they used various instruments, improved instruments. Okay, so in our traditional agriculture way, we use plow for plowing the soil. But after that, when we introduce the new technology, we use the tractor for plowing the soil, harvesters, okay, harvesting the seeds. So using this, we increase our productivity, and when increase our productivity also, which leads the increase in our income or increase our profits. So by this, using the new technology, we also increase our living standard. And this is not obviously limited in the cultivation. These are also related with production process, communication, education, healthcare. In health system, we also introduce modern medicines, modern technologies, okay, banking systems, port, okay, all these are related to modernization. And next thing, the change the social outlook. What is the social outlook? When we modernized our technology, side by side, we need to improve ourselves. That means that was the time when we need to change our thoughts. We need some gender empowerment. This is the example of the change our thoughts or social outlook. Gender empowerment means we also need the right of the women as equal as the men. And after that adoption of this thing, then the women also work in the various sector. So this is the modernization. Now the term is self-reliance. Self-reliance means reduce dependency on foreign country. Okay, so during the British rule or British advent, we dependent about the food, we dependent on the Britain, we import the finished goods. Okay, so we have no independent to produce the thing which we use that time. So the people are dependent on foreign trade or foreign country, and also our India also dependent on the foreign country. So when during the plan, economic plan, government has decided this is the time to take the decision, or we use our country's resources. By using these resources, we produce goods and services in our home country. And after produce these goods and services, these goods we reuse any further production process. So this is called the self-reliance. That means we self-dependent in our production process, and which also open the employment opportunity to the all people. So this is one of the important decision, self-reliance. Now we come to equity. This equity, this is one term by which we distributed the income among the people, not equally. Equity means not equally. Equity means, okay, let's see one example. If there are two persons, person A, person B, person A is a rich person, person B is a poor person. Okay, and here some steps are obviously. Rich people are benefited by the society, poor people are not so much benefited by the society, and they are also excluded from the society. But government decide we distribute our income equitably. How? That means both are provided by the income from the government, but or the some benefits from the government, social benefits from the government, we give the poor much more social benefit. So for the poor person have to give the more social benefits, and as compared to the poor person, the rich person have to give the less social benefits. or basic needs, because this rich person, they can afford their basic needs, but this poor person, he can't afford. So what are the basic needs? So equity means provided basic needs to poor people, or who is not only poor, actually this basic, provided the basic needs to every section of society. But this poor person, from them we have to give the more benefits. So which are the basic needs? Basic needs means food, cloth, shelter, education and healthcare. These are the basic needs. So government decide country's national income. So these are not possible to give everyone the same income. There are some division. For the doctors, there are some another division of their income, or the income distribution. For staff, for clerk, there is the different distribution of the income. So we have to give some extra benefit to make the equal distribution among the people. This is called the equitable distribution or equity. So we have to give the more benefits to poor. For what? For make the equal distribution among the people. Okay student, so this is about the equity. Now this is the time during 1950 to 1990. What was the condition of our agriculture? So we know that maximum of people in our country, about 75% people, they are engaged in the farming activities or cultivation. Okay, so now we have to know the features of agriculture. Features of agriculture in 1950 to 1990. So after independence, there was the low productivity. Why? Because the productivity per hectare of land in India was very low, and maximum of the farmer was very poor. Okay, so and also the due to exploitation of the farmer in colonial rule, we already know in the colonial rule what was the effect on our agriculture sector. So that type of the exploitation, and farmers suffer many problems. So that's why there was a low productivity in agriculture. So first in low productivity in agriculture. Next, dependency on rainfall. Okay, so that time the India's farmer, they mostly dependent on rainfall, because that time there was no improved the technology, and maximum of the farmers was poor. That's why there were no capacity to afford the irrigation systems, wells, tube wells. So they was dependent on the rainfall. This is one of the another features of the agriculture. Next, disguised unemployment. I think all of you are familiar with this term, disguised unemployment, because in class 9 you have read these are. So what is disguised unemployment? Disguised unemployment means in one piece of land, okay, the farmer produce some crop, and in the cultivation time he need to labor for the cultivation his land. But in his family there is 4 member, and rest of the 2 members, they also are engaged in this cultivation time. But the productivity of this land, which include our GDP, we need only the effort of from this 2%. We not need the another 2%. Understood, students? So that means the this kind of employment means the people who are visibly employed. I know there are the 4 people are employed in one land, but there are only need the 2 people who are give the productivity in our national income or contribute something in our national income, but the contribution of the rest of the 2% is 0. So these 2% are unemployed, but invisibly we see these persons are employed. So rest of these 2% is called disguised unemployment, and this type of unemployment we have seen in rural areas, and that time there was in many that type of the unemployment, disguised unemployment. Now the next one is subsistence farming. That means the farmer, they produce the crop for their self consumption. Okay, after their self consumption there is a no remaining product or goods whatever they sell in the market. That means the subsistence farming. Now there is another point is the conflicts between the owner and tenants. Okay, so there was a condition during British rule. The landlords, they are huge extracted interest from the poor farmer, and there was no improvement from the owner side. There is no improvement for their cultivation process for the poor people. So they charge the high interest for the poor person or poor farmer, which also lead to the low productivity in time of during the British period. Now the next one is fragmented holdings. That means the in British period the land was scattered. The lands are not in one place. if one farmers his lands are scattered in different places. So this is one of the major problem for low productivity. So these are the features the agriculture during the 1950s to 1990, and then late 1960s we introduce some new technology, or from the government during the plan take some decision or take some plan to improve our cultivation process. Okay, and there we introduce with the abolition of intermediaries, land holdings, land reforms, land selling, etc. So next day I discuss briefly about this. Okay students, so for today we complete our lesson up to this, and the next day I continue and I discuss about the all of these things. Thank you.